digest it a little bit better and give you a different perspective on where your money is going and why. So, as you're tuning in and listening, what do you think are some of the biggest money wasters? What do you think are some of the things that people have wasted money on over the years, or what you potentially have wasted money on? Got to have my water here. All right. So, when we look at it, there's a few things. Number one, a lot of people, and keep in mind when I talk about this, everybody's situation is different. So some people didn't waste money on these things when they purchased them. But if you are in a bad financial situation, if you are in debt and it is overwhelming you, and you have this personal debt that you need to take care of, I'll give an example. There are some people who are struggling financially and they buy name brand clothes that are extremely expensive. And so many people waste money on name brand items that are extremely expensive when they could have used that same money to eliminate debt, to pay a bill, to catch up on a medical bill, to pay off a credit card on time so it doesn't accrue interest and you have to pay more to that credit card company. But instead, they went and bought some extremely expensive name brand shoes or name brand purse or clothes. Mr. Sherman put two TVs in Germany with one channel in 1985. So he wasted money on two TVs with only one channel. 1985 reminds me of the 85 Bears. I think they went undefeated and won a championship. Are they the only team to ever go undefeated and win a football championship, NFL championship? But anyway, so there are so many things that you can waste money on that you didn't need to or you shouldn't have to. And that's what we're talking about today. But once again, we're going to look at those items and then we're going to pull up a calculator and look at the potential money that went to unnecessary things. And when they are invested properly in the right financial vehicles, what that will yield for you. So this is going to be a pretty fun topic. Like I tell everyone every Saturday morning, whatever you're doing, if you're cooking breakfast, fine. Put your Bluetooth on and tune in to me on YouTube or whether it's Facebook. If you have me on the TV on YouTube or you're on your laptop, turn the volume all the way up. Keep cooking, keep cleaning, and let's have a conversation about financial literacy together. So you don't have to stop what you're doing. If you're riding in the car, hook me up and let's go. If your family hardly ever talks about financial literacy, guess what? Let's wake everybody up early Saturday morning and let's have this conversation together on where we are wasting money. How can we recoup our funds? I like that word right there. How can we recoup our funds? It's an exciting feeling when you can recoup your funds, when you can gather back what you lost. Oh, the Bears didn't go undefeated? Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm thinking, you know what? Why am I thinking about the 85 Bears? Was that, you know why? It's probably because Miami is the only team went undefeated. I'm thinking about 85 Bears because they had my favorite running back of all time, Sweetness. Tony, what's his name? 85 Bears running back. He passed away a few years ago. That's why I'm thinking about the 85 Bears. Walter Payton. That's his name. Walter Payton. That's why I was thinking about 85 Bears. I should be right on that one. Anyway, in 1985, I think I was on like 5, maybe 6 years old. So sorry about that NFL mistake stat. But anyway, I want to tell you all that it is possible to recoup these funds and put them back in the right place. Let's get our money, put it back in the right place so that we can gain wealth, so that we can grow our wealth, our net worth. And we're going to dive into this thing and look at some situations and some scenarios so that we can make progress. All right, so I'm back on track with my football stats. Okay, so name brand clothes is one thing. Also, Here's one of the biggest things that people don't realize that cause people to lose the opportunity to gain wealth, to prepare for retirement properly. And that word is addictions. Oh my goodness. Listen to what I'm saying. Addictions, addictions, addictions. And I'm not talking about super hardcore addictions. There are basic addictions that aren't deadly. And then there's some deadly addictions, and all of those addictions, everything that falls under there, are some of the biggest reasons why people can't either get out of debt, or why people cannot pay their bills on time, why people end up living paycheck to paycheck, or why people cannot invest properly and grow generational wealth or even prepare their own retirement. Of course, as you're tuning in today, we're talking about the biggest money wasters, but not just the biggest money wasters, but when we reallocate those funds into the proper investment vehicles that can grow compound interest, what difference will we see? And we're going to pull up that information on the calculator and dive into that stuff to give real life scenarios and examples so that people can improve their financial situation. What do we waste money on? So as you're tuning in, make sure your family's tuning in, friends, loved ones, people who are constantly asking you for money, borrowing money from you. Make sure you share, tag them in here. Just because you tag them in here doesn't mean they borrow money. But make sure you share this live with other people, tag people in the live. Let's have a good financial literacy conversation. So we already said name brand clothes or items, but also addictions. And what are some of those addictions? The addictions can be something like, it could be an alcohol addiction. How much money do people spend on alcohol a week? Now, of course, I live by a military town, used to be in the military, so I saw how much money soldiers spent on alcohol, not a month, but a week, on a weekly basis. And some of us, it was daily. So that's a lot of money. And yes, soldiers do get a pension. Yeah, we do get a retirement. And they're actually starting to change a lot of that. We have TSPs in place and things like that. But you should not solely rely on just that pension or that retirement. You should also be investing independently on your own. And so addictions can slow you down from being able to invest independently to grow your wealth. Tony Sherman put coffee. Yes, I don't want any coffee people to get upset with me. I know one person who says they got to have coffee every day or eat at least twice a day. When you start adding up that coffee and how much that is and what it can be invested in, woo, you're talking about a lot of money. You could actually take that money and open up your own coffee shop and then have someone else pay for your coffee. And so what you have to understand is a lot of times the money we spend on these things that waste your money, if you invest it properly into the right investment vehicles, it can then yield you a profit so that you can buy the things that you choose and want to buy. Cars, that is a big one. Tony, cars is a big one. I definitely will be going over that with cars. Jordan sneakers. Yep. Nike, Jordans, they make billions of dollars a year, millions and millions of dollars a year off of people buying shoes. And of course, if you don't know what type of jewelry you are buying, if you don't know what to do with the jewelry you buy, how to examine it properly, then you could potentially waste money on jewelry as well. There are some people that do buy gold and they do it to hedge against inflation. And so therefore, they are being a little more strategic when they buy certain jewelry or commodities to hedge against inflation. So definitely keep all of that in mind when we try to find out what our biggest money wasters are. And hello, Mr. Marcus Scott. And so as we tune in on today and we're talking about the biggest money wasters and the things that we waste money on, I want to have this discussion because we can recoup funds. Once we recoup them, once we get them back from out of the places they should not have been, then we reallocate. And when we reallocate, we can put them in position to gain compound interest. And I can't wait to get to the calculator to demonstrate a lot of this stuff so we can see how big of a change it makes when we reallocate, when we put our funds back into the right place to work for us so that we can enjoy and buy the things that we choose and want to buy. Because if you put yourself in a position to create income for yourself where you may not have to clock in, or whether it's passive income, whether it's income from dividend stocks, wherever it comes from, when you put yourself in a position to be financially free, then you can purchase certain things with all confidence, with all freedom, because it's not hindering you from being able to live comfortably. So we talked about addictions, and of course, addictions from people who have caffeine addictions, cigarettes. You know what? I heard that a pack of cigarettes, I don't know. Someone else may know who's listening in. Is a pack of cigarettes like a little over $8 right now? I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard someone say that a pack of cigarettes is over $8. And there's some people that smoke like a pack a day. And so I don't know if a pack of cigarettes is $8 and you got to smoke a pack a day. 8 times 7 is 56 times 4 for the month. That's $224 a month. Someone may know the facts on that, but if that's $224 a month, and we'll keep that in mind too when we go to the compound interest, we'll look at that and see what that means for someone with that addiction, what they could have done with that if they take that $224 a month, over $15. Whew. So a pack of cigarettes is over 50. Like if someone buys not a box of them, but if they just buy a pack of cigarettes, wow, it's over $15. Okay, let me redo the math on that. So $15. And do most people who smoke cigarettes, do most people smoke a pack a day? Or is it like half a pack? We'll do both. So $15 times 7 is 105. Times 4 is 420. So I'm going to put some people in the 420 class that do a pack a day. And then I'm going to put some people half that. Maybe they don't do a pack a day. So I'll put them at 210. And so we'll evaluate both scenarios and see what type of wealth they can create if they were to put that habit down and invest that money properly. So we'll go there. We'll do half and half. Maybe everybody doesn't do a pack. All right. And for some people, it may not be cigarettes. It may be alcohol. There are some people who may spend who knows? I'd say about $50 a week on alcohol. They may buy a fifth of something on every Friday evening, or they may buy, packs of beer, whatever it is. It may be that. So when we look at that, let's write that one down too. $50 for the every week. If they're doing that, that's about $200. Good morning to you, Mr. Rosby. Welcome. Happy to have you tune in. And let's see. Victoria says, my mother used to buy 2 packs and they wouldn't last maybe 3 days. Okay, so she is 2 packs, 3 days. And if they're about $15 now, that's like $30 in 3 days. That's like $10 a day. Whoa. 2 packs, 3 days, 3 in the 30. That's $10 a day for a month. Yeah, that's like $300. Yep. So we're definitely right within range there. All right. So as we continue to look at these different addictions and things that people have, I can't wait, like I said, to plug in those numbers into a compound interest calculator and see what we come up with. If we drop the addictions, whether it's the coffee, whether it's the cigarettes, whether it's the alcohol, or even cut back on them just a little bit, you'd be surprised how wealthy you would be. What are some other addictions that people have? Gambling. You know what? That's interesting because, someone who is a bad gambler could be an amazing investor. Why is that? Because when you look at the habits of a gambler, if you take those same bad habits out of that same toxic environment and you apply it to the right asset class, If they apply that same mentality and habits to the right asset class, whether it's real estate, whether it's commodities, whether it's stocks, bonds, ETFs, currencies, crypto, you name it, they would have so much financial wealth. People who gamble probably would be the wealthiest people in America because they have a mindset that no matter what happens, they're going to keep putting money into the same thing, this same subject, this same object. I don't care if it's gambling with sports, if it's gambling with um, the lottery, you name it. People who gamble, they go back to the same spot over and over and throw money in there over and over, hoping to win. But you must understand, whatever entity you go to gamble, that entity is in business and growing and extremely wealthy because they have set it up where they win and they do not lose. The house is going to win. Otherwise, casinos would be going out of business. More casinos are growing, not going out of business. So if you're tuning in, we're talking about the biggest money wasters, things that take our money away. We're going to discuss how we can recoup those funds, get them back, reallocate them, put them in financial vehicles that make compound interest so that we can grow our money, grow our wealth. Woo, vacationing. That's a good one, Victoria. When we talk about vacationing, some of the hardest things in life for people to do is to say no to a vacation. I know when we were young and you were kids in high school and you get peer pressure around you and people are trying to tell you to do this, do that. And as a child, it was hard for people to say no. But some of the biggest peer pressure that adults have, and vacation is a good one. I don't even think that one was on my list. Some of the most difficult things that adults have and problems that adults have is saying no to their friends, family, and loved ones for vacation. Vacations set people back so much because anytime people vacate, they also allow money to vacate their pockets and money to vacate their banks, their bank accounts, because vacationing is expensive. Why? Because the cost of living, goods, and services have gone up. So when you vacate, when you go on vacation, your finances don't go on vacation. You go on vacation, but your finances have to work hard. Your money doesn't feel like it's on vacation because it's taking it out of the norm. Now, there are some ways to vacate and have vacations within a reasonable budget and some creative things you can do to make vacationing least expensive. And I'm sure I have some YouTube videos on that on my YouTube channel. Make sure you go to Coach Steele's Finance Training on YouTube because I am live on Facebook and YouTube. And my YouTube channel is growing. Thank you for everyone that does support, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube. And as we continue to grow, I appreciate each and everybody that tunes in, that leaves a comment, that shares when I go live with other people to see. It means a lot. I'm giving y'all all a big hug. So when we talk about financial literacy and vacationing, it's okay to tell whoever or whatever, even yourself, nope, I'm going to sit this vacation out. Nope, I'm not going to spend this $5,000 on vacation because I got a $3,000 credit card. I got a $5,000 credit card I need to take care of. Property taxes are coming up. I need to knock that out. I don't want to put that on a credit card. I got this grocery bill that I need to pay that I swiped on my credit card for the past 3 months and it's gaining interest. One of the things that and I'm skipping all over the place, y'all. One of the things that I talk about is how people pay for groceries 3-4 months ago and they're still paying interest on the apple they bought in May. They're still paying interest on the mashed potatoes that they bought in June. They're still paying interest on the salmon that they bought 2 months ago because we put it on a card and we did not pay that card off before the charge date on that credit card. So guess what? The credit card company gets to charge you interest on that balance because you didn't pay the card off in time. If we practice the habit of paying those credit cards off before the charge date, before the credit card company can charge you interest, then you won't be charged any interest. It's the same as paying in cash, paying in full if you use a credit card. I'm not saying for everyone to use a credit card, but if you do, paid off before the charge date. Guess what? You might get cash back rewards. You may get hotel points. You may get mileage for flights. Guess what? You just made vacation cheaper because maybe you get the hotel rooms for free. Maybe you fly for free. But vacation is expensive because food goes up because you're no longer cooking at home. And now, unless you go to a cabin and then you go buy groceries when you're on vacation in the cabin and you cook, then maybe food is a little bit cheaper. But the average person is not going on vacation and cooking. They're going out to eat. And so we have to look at some of these things that are big money wasters: name brand clothes, addictions, gambling, fast food. We already know fast food is expensive. Pandemic happened and fast food went up and service went down. Fast food, the cost of the food went up and the service went down and the convenience went down. And now it takes longer to get your food in line, unless you're at Chick-fil-A. Now, let's see what else we have on here. We talked about jewelry, how to be wise if buying jewelry. Another money waster for people who are financially hurting. If you're financially struggling, one of the first things I did to help myself get out of debt years ago was I cut my cable off. I got rid of cable. There was no need for it. There was no point in it. I got tired of looking at the bills, but then seeing the TV. I'm watching TV. It's costing me to be entertained by this box, but I have this bill that can be paid if I cut the entertainment off. So what I learned to do, and when I was younger, I used to hate reading, did not like reading, but what I did was I cut my cable off, got rid of that cable bill, saved myself a lot of money, and I was able to knock out a credit card faster than usual. And eventually I was able to knock out the house faster than usual. Certain medical bills that I thought and did not want to pay, I was able to pay a lot of that stuff off because I got rid of a lot of the money wasters in my life. And when we cut the cable off, we had to be creative with how we were entertaining ourselves. And so one thing we did, sometimes we would take the kids to the library. And the library had all of these like free, not only did the library have books for the kids, our kids became much better readers because we was like, we need to find something entertaining to do. So we would go to the library. The library had like free VHS tapes. This is back in the day. I'm a little old. And they had CDs. And so you can get free stuff for the kids to watch at the library. Of course, I didn't like reading, so then I started reading more books and being entertained. No cable. How do I entertain myself? We started taking more trips to the beach. More trips to the beach. It's free. The beach doesn't cost anything. And of course, I grew up in Savannah area, so there's a beach right there. You make some food at home, pack it up, have your picnic, and now you have a nice mini vacation, relaxing, and it didn't cost much at all. But we started reading more. And speaking of books, ladies and gentlemen, I have this book right here. And this book is called Get This Baby Out of Me by Pastor Takara Harris. And so Takara Nicole Harris. And so this book, Get This Baby Out of Me, I'm reading it. It's a book that's talking about being able to press through and accomplish your goals, birthing out that thing that you have been blessed and called to do. And I'm going to interview her on my YouTube channel and, of course, on Facebook as well. So be on the lookout. That'll be coming soon, and I'll announce it when she's coming on the channel to be interviewed about her book that she wrote. And, of course, you can get this book on Amazon. And, of course, I don't make any money off of it, but who knows? Maybe she'll give me some money. But I don't make any money off of it. But just want to let y'all know that interview is coming up, just like I've interviewed other people in the past, other entrepreneurs. So let's see. Victoria says, I need to learn how to coupon because I spend a lot at the grocery store buying unnecessary items. Victoria, I know a lady who coupons, and she actually is a part of this YouTube channel. Oh, my people in here. I think I see Assyria Daniels, Natalie, Vicky Billingsley, and Miss Shirley Frazier. Good morning to everybody. Happy to have you tuning in. I know a lady who does couponing, and she does teach couponing as well. So if that's something you're interested in, I can connect you with her, and we'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. So anyway, As we look at the biggest money wasters that we have, what are some of the other ones? Ooh, new cars. The cost of vehicles has gone up as well. When we look at, since 2020 during the pandemic, even the cost of used cars has gone up as well. So, car payments, I don't know, used to be like $200-300. And now it is normal to see people who have car payments that are 800, 1,000, $1,200. Car payments are like what rent used to be. Car payments is what your mortgage used to be back in 2005, 2006, 2007. That's what car payments are now. They are the car payments from 2000. I don't know. Actually, I go as far as to say car payments now are like what mortgage payments used to be from like 2015 and before. Because I know I used to have two properties. One of them, the cost of houses was so cheap back in 2004, 2005. You can get a decent starter home for like $75,000. 3-bedroom, 1 bath. You could get a decent 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a 2-car garage in 2014 for like $130,000. And so if you got a house for maybe $75,000 back in 2004 or 5, your house payment, your mortgage was like probably $700 a month. $700 a month for a whole house. 2014, you buy a house for $130,000, your mortgage payment is less than $1,000. It might be $800-900. Easy. That is the house. Those are the car notes now. The car notes are more than what the old mortgage used to be. That's why this information is good right now. Victoria says, that's why I'm not getting another car anytime soon. And so it's so interesting when you look at this stuff, because if you would have bought an asset or some type of investment back then, the investment could now pay for the thing that you want now. Victoria says in 2013, I was paying $500 a month for a 1-bedroom. Interesting. I wonder how much a 1-bedroom is now. And what if you would have purchased a 1-bedroom? What if you own the 1-bedroom? How much could you rent it out for now? All right. What other things take our money away? Let me go through here. It is, oh yeah, Lord have mercy. When you're looking at the biggest things that take your money away, you have to be so disciplined and patient and not allow the shiny objects to cause you to grab. There are certain things that we do as humans, certain shiny objects and things that we place, whether it's on fishing hooks or whether people are catching. I think people use shiny silver stuff to catch raccoons too. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe I read it in a book when I was a child. But we'll go with the fishing example. There are certain things that fishermen put on the hook or create or design to attract certain fish so that they will bite. And when they bite, they reel them in. And we can't get distracted by the shiny things of life. Oh, there's so much mental warfare that goes on when it comes to these big money wasters. And we have to understand there's a lot of marketing that goes on. There's a lot of marketing that goes on to help pull our money away from us. And we have to fight against the marketing. And I don't want to go too deep. I'm going to go a little bit in my marketing bag, first, the things I get frustrated with. But I ain't going to go too deep because I know I'll go overboard. So when we talk about these overpriced things, just like I hate when people are in situations where they are paying interest on their groceries they bought 2 and 3 months ago, not judging anyone. I know things happen, emergencies happen. People are trying to live paycheck to paycheck. And like I told you all already, America borrows a lot. The government borrows a lot. And the people reflect what the government is doing. And so it is the way of life and the mentality of Americans to borrow to survive. But we have to shift that mentality because it doesn't work. If you borrow to survive, then eventually it catches up to you, and then it's hard to dig yourself out of that hole. It's possible to dig yourself out of the hole, but it's extremely difficult to dig yourself out of that hole. So keep that in mind. So when we look at this, one of the other things that people pay interest on all the time is the next phone, the next gadget, the next device. That is another one of the biggest money wasters in America, that people want to upgrade their technology or their device or their phone, whatever it is. What do? We swipe it on the card, and then when we put it on the card, it is collecting interest. We are paying interest on phones that we bought last year. We're paying interest on the phone we upgraded on 6 months ago. Not only did we buy the phone at an exaggerated, overrated price, inflated price, but we are also paying interest on the inflated price. Same thing with the mortgage. The home mortgages are inflated, they're very high, and you're paying interest on the inflated price. This is very dangerous because it takes a lot of our money away. It takes a lot of our spending power away. It takes a lot of our cash flow away. And that's what we talked about last week, was cash flow, the importance of cash flow, the benefits of cash flow. And that's why we're having this conversation today, to piggyback on last week. I told everyone it is important that your budget, you have cash flow at the end of the month. You want to have money left over at the end of the month for various reasons, whether it's to build a retirement, whether it's to build generational wealth, whether it's to invest, or whether it is to eliminate debt that is costing you. And so in order to build your cash flow, we have to look at the biggest money wasters, the things that is taking our money away, and start being aggressive on how to get rid of the money wasters, or break the habit of buying those things that waste our money, so that we can increase our cash flow. And when we increase our cash flow, we can have a ball. We can start doing all kinds of things to create passive income, to create wealth, to build businesses, to grow businesses that make money, to eventually sell that business or pass that business down. We have all type of opportunities when we increase our cash flow. So we don't want to waste money on those different devices and then pay interest on them. Those credit cards, the interest we pay on credit cards, the interest we pay on late payments, are some of the biggest money wasters that we have going on in America. We want to be careful and wise when we buy groceries. That's a big money waster when we don't shop properly. Subscriptions, gym subscriptions, that's a big word, threw me off. Subscriptions, when we don't use them. Now, if you're using your gym subscription, then you're not wasting the money. All right. So anyway, we went through a lot of them on here. There's so much more we could have named, but I want to get to the calculator and show some things, and hopefully I can pull all this up properly. So as we tune in and we're continuing to talk about big money wasters, and we've talked about credit card interest and playing the lottery and all that other stuff. And like I mentioned, if gamblers took those habits and applied them to some type of investment vehicle, they would be extremely wealthy with growing wealth. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. One of the things when I talked about big money wasters is credit cards. When we talk about the interest that we pay on credit cards, that's one of the biggest money wasters. So let's say the credit card balance is $2,992. The interest, 29.74%. We already know the interest rates on these credit cards are ridiculous right now. Anywhere from 22, 26, 29%. All of this is realistic. Some people, the credit card balance is much higher than this. So if you want to write in the comment section as you're tuning in, if you want to write in your credit card balance or a hypothetical balance and interest rate, I can put it in here, especially if you know your minimum monthly payment. So let's say you have a credit card balance a little over $2,900. Let me make sure this is big enough for y'all to be able to see. All right. And the interest rate is 29.74%. And the minimum monthly payment is $105. When we hit calculate on here, it's going to tell us how long it's going to take to pay this thing off. And this is why credit card interest is one of the biggest money wasters. To pay off less than $3,000, it's saying it's going to take 4 years. If you make that minimum monthly payment and the total interest paid, $2,073, and the principal amount was $2,992. And so when we look at that situation, that's a lot of money wasted. For 4 years, we only owed a little over $2,900, but we ended up paying about $5,000. Yep, because 2,073 plus 2,992. And so we end up paying like a little over $5,000 total in this scenario because we paid the minimum monthly payment to the bank. Now, let's look at a different scenario. If we have $105, and let's say instead of spending $29.92 on whatever it was spent on, let's say we invested it. So let me go here. Let's see. Exactly. You are correct, Shirley Frazier. It tells you on the bill. So that's enough to make you pay it off early. Some of those bills will show you. It'll tell you on there when you pull up your statement. Sometimes you open that thing real quick or you just go to the app and pay it. Before you do that, look at that bank statement and it'll tell you if you keep making minimum payments. Some of yours are going to say 15 years payoff, not 49 months, not this scenario where it's 4 years. It'll tell you 15 years, 10 years. So now when we look at it, let's look at the person who spent $2,992 on whatever they spend it on. All right, that's the initial investment. That's what they put on the monthly contribution. Now, remember, this person they spent almost $3,000 on that credit card. Now, let's say instead of having to pay the credit card off, but they keep investing that $105 into a certain asset class, whether it's a stock, you name it, and the length of time. Now, of course, here's the funny part. They did it for 49 months, which is 4 years, a little over 4 years. So let's say 4 years. Estimated interest. A lot of people know S&P on average has been averaging about 10%. So let's use interest at 10%. And let's see how much money we make here. Instead of spending the money on the credit card, but we invest it and we look at compound interest. Let me go up. Let's calculate. So when we calculate and let's look at the results, in 4 years, that person who had that credit card, instead of giving the bank $5,000, that same person that decided not to purchase $3,000 worth of whatever that they may not have needed on that credit card, in 4 years from now, instead of losing $5,000, they now have at minimum $10,228.25 that they have control of. And so that person could lose $5,000 or they could be up $10,000. And so that's the opportunity cost. That is the opportunity. When you lost that opportunity, it cost you thousands and thousands of dollars because we did not invest in ourselves first, but we invested in that financial institution. And so we have to be smart and be creative and say, I don't want to give my money to the bank anymore and lose out. If I put my money in a financial institution or a banking situation, I want to win. I want to make a profit. I want to get something out of this. And so that's just one example right there. All right. So here we have this calculator as well. And if y'all have some hypotheticals, some scenarios that you want me to write in this calculator, let me know. We'll write them in. We're going to look at another example. earlier we talked about how much vehicles cost. Now, you could possibly buy a vehicle for, actually, before I go there, let's say this person is in this example and they develop these habits, but instead of for 4 years, they keep doing $105, let's say for the next 30 years. For the next 30 years, they continue to develop good habits and quit using those credit cards incorrectly. How much money do they have? That person who quit spending extra money on the credit card now has over $250,000 at their disposal that they have because they invested properly. Good morning to you. Also, Ranash tuning in all the way from Cameroon. Happy to have my overseas people in. If you all don't know, I love giving, supporting, and donating to Cameroon. We've built a church in Cameroon and support other ministries, people who do not have enough money for food, don't have enough money for clothes, and also people who struggle to have school fees as well. So anyway, more to come about that as time goes by. Good morning also to Mr. Reggie Castile. Thank you for tuning in. So we see that person, $105. Now they have over $250,000 for investing, for their retirement account, you name it. All because they shifted their mindset, shifted their habit from, think about it, the cable is over $100 a month. Someone who gets rid of cable and starts reading more books, all of a sudden, now you got over $250,000. Over $259,000 is above the median for most people who their retirement accounts. Most people, the average, the median retirement account is below $200,000. But the person who gets rid of one of those bad habits, addictions, or whatever, spending habits, one of these biggest money wasters can have over $259,000, and that's just from $105. Now, as we continue to go a little bit further and we look at this, what if that initial investment amount was zero? We talked about cars. Now you can buy a car off a lot. Sometimes you can pay for a car in cash. But what if that initial investment was zero? Let's look at a scenario like that and see what that yields. Let's see here. Initial investment is zero. And y'all that are tuning in, what is like the average car payment right now? If you had to guess what the average car payment is a month right now, what would you say it is? In the comment section on Facebook, if you're tuning in on my YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training, you can write the answer there. What is the average car payment right now? How much is that? Let me check my comment section out. What do we believe is the average car payment right now? $750, $800. Okay. We got 800, we got 750. That's pretty much about it. Somewhere within that range, 750, 800 a month. So there are some people that Natalie says 650. And, you know, of course, it also does depend on whether you do 6 years, 4 years, 5 years. You know, it all depends on what that range is of the financing agreement. And all of this is good because we're talking about car notes that take a lot of our money away. And of course, you're paying interest on that car note. We're talking about houses with 30-year mortgages. Lord have mercy. I don't want to get into my, you know, I forgot to get in my bag about complaining about what else? It was supposed to be. It's going to come back to me. I want to complain a little bit. I know what it is. Advertising in America and how we spend money on vacations and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm going to jump back on that. Miss Zandy Daniels, good morning to you. Happy to have you here. 1,200. Yes, so people are paying anywhere between $800 to $1,200 a month on vehicles. So let's say someone decided whether they bought a vehicle cash or whether they decided to stick with the vehicles that they have, and they decided, let's say 5 years. So no initial investment. They started investing their money. So let's go with Let's go with $800. We've seen $750, we've seen $1,200. Instead of going with $1,000, let's go with $800. Let's go on the lower end, if we want to call it lower. Monthly contribution, that person pays $800 a month. And for 5 years, let's just go with 5 years. For 5 years, 10% interest. Let me make this a little bit bigger. On average, annually. Let's see how much money that person has. They decided not to buy the vehicle, but they decided to invest $800 a month. And 5 years, that is $58,608.96. And so now when we look at that, yes, Zandy, it does depend on the car, your credit score, and things like that. Good morning to you, Mr. Andre, Mr. Basketball Star, Phenom. And so content creator. I have an event, so I will do a replay. Okay, what's your event, Mr.? You hosting the event or you going to one? But either way, definitely thank you for tuning in, and definitely also watch the replay. Oh yeah, we got car insurance as well. So no matter what car you get, you're going to have that car insurance. So we already see right there, the person makes about, over that period of time, they're going to have a little over $58,000. But what if they continued this habit and they developed the habit of continue to put that $800 a month? And somebody is probably saying, well, how can you have an extra $800 a month to invest? I barely have $50 left over at the end of the month. That's why I'm talking to you all about being able to recoup those funds, find your cash flow that was lost in the barrage and the mess of the biggest money wasters. And there's a way to do it. And I'll explain it a little bit further as well. How do I get this cash flow back in my pocket to be able to execute these things? But let's say somebody has $800 a month, and instead of 5 years, they continued this habit. And let's say they did it for 25 years. At 10% interest, this money is growing in compound interest. What do we have? Bada boom, bada bang. We talking about almost millionaire status. $944,131.77. So now that's just this investment that this person has. It's not counting everything else they have or the value of their home. So 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty sure this person, whether they have this alone, they're definitely a millionaire. Or if they this alone in their mortgage, they probably have over $1 million net worth. But also, if they decided to do it for a few more years, they definitely would have well over $1 million. Well, it also depends on what their debt is. So when we look at that, it is possible to grow your retirement, your generational wealth, if you can recoup and get your cash flow back under control and reinvest it in the proper places to be able to make your money grow for you, or what I call make your money work for you. I'm a big advocate of making your money work for you. And to give another example. So, I talked about someone who bought a house. Let's say you bought a house in 2004 or 5 for $75,000. That was my example, my scenario, because that happened to me in real life. So when I bought the house, I ended up paying it off it was like 7 years. And it was before I knew the accelerated banking strategy that I know now and that I teach people. So it took me like 7 years to pay that house off. And my mortgage used to be about $623 a month or something like that. It's paid off, but now that same house, I rent out now. So think about it. And what's funny, once again, the house is paid off. I rent the house out now, and that house I rent out for $1,100 a month. So I rent it out for $1,100 a month, but you still have to pay property tax and insurance. So out of that $1,100 a month, once again, we have an asset. The house is an asset, ladies and gentlemen, and that asset class is real estate. You can choose whatever asset class you want. Of course, I lean towards real estate because that's kind of what I prefer. But when we look at it, $1,100 a month, let's take $300 a month out for property taxes and insurance, because we know property taxes have gone up and insurance went up just a little for everybody. And so When we look at that scenario, that leaves me $800 a month. Now, if it leaves me $800 a month left over in profit, what can I do with that $800? Because some people are looking at their 9 to 5 income and they're trying to figure out, how can I invest in my future or build generational wealth or build my retirement off of my 9 to 5 income? We have to learn to be creative to free up our money that was being wasted in other places, create the cash flow so that we can acquire assets. Now, this asset that I can have at least about $800 a month in profit. It is possible for me to take the money that the tenant gives me in profit and invest that money. Instead of having to pull funds from my 9 to 5 to invest, I can take the money from that asset, the profit, the cash flow, and invest it. And so now I can build my future with the rental income, and I can do that for as long as I want to get to this point if I chose to, whether it's 15 years, 20 years, but it's being creative, finding other creative ways to make income. But it starts with, like I said, freeing up that cash flow. It doesn't always start with freeing up cash flow. You can dive into real estate without having any cash flow at all, whether it's wholesaling and a bunch of other options as well. Crowdfunding, owner financing, the list goes on. So as we're talking about this and we're looking, let's see what is said over here. Victoria says, maybe I can invest the money I would spend in a car payment and let that compound. Yes, you can. And you can do a lot of that. And so what I tell everyone is eliminate debt, attack debt, eliminate debt. And when you free up that debt, you can invest like crazy. You can go bananas. You can go extreme. You can be high risk. You can be conservative. When you get rid of debt and you have control of your finances and you have your emergency fund set up, you're in position for whatever may happen. So you can be very creative with your investing. And I'll give one other example. I gave an example here. Let's say you're trying to eliminate debt. You're trying to get rid of debt. You have a mortgage, whatever the case may be. And in this scenario, that household, this family brings in about $6,000 a month. Their expenses were a little bit more than $23.96 because they do have student loans. Actually, let me enlarge this just a little bit. Let me see if I can make it bigger for y'all. So in this scenario, the family brings in about $6,000 a month. This is just their personal expense amount, maybe $2,396. They do have student loans. They have about $10,000 balance, $100 a month there. They have a car note, $30,000 balance, $800 a month. They have credit cards, maybe about $10,000 worth of credit cards. They spend $100 a month. So they have the $23.96 plus this $1,000 worth of credit card payments that they have to pay every month. And of course, they have a mortgage payment. So that mortgage payment that they have too, it might be about $1,715. So they have all of those debts plus these personal debts. And so when I throw it in the accelerated banking calculator and we look at getting rid of debt, freeing up your cash flow and paying everything off, if this person were to do accelerated banking using the HELOC strategy, they could pay off the $50,000 worth of consumer debt, the $150,000 left on the mortgage balance. They could pay all of that $200,000 worth of debt off that the bank, let's say they had 15 years left on their mortgage, 20 years left on their mortgage, whatever it is, all of that can be paid off in 5.6 years through the accelerated banking strategy. Now you have to think about this. If you pay that debt off in 5.6 years, 5.5 years, that frees up $1,000 worth of consumer debt. So now you're no longer giving $1,000 a month to those financial institutions, and you're no longer paying the principal and interest portion on this mortgage payment, which might be around $1,500. Now, here's an interesting thing to think about. If you no longer have to give the mortgage company $1,500 a month, and you're no longer giving student loans car note, and credit card company $1,000, that's $2,500 a month of cash flow that you now have control of. Once again, we have a scenario. If you started at ground zero and you had no lump sum of money to put in, but you decided to do accelerated banking, you eliminate that debt. And once you eliminate that debt, not even the whole 2,500, because you still want to have some fun, live, splurge, have all that nice stuff. Let's say you only took about 1,500 of that 25. No, let's just go at 1,000. The 1,500 that you paid towards the mortgage, now you're vacationing every month and doing whatever you want to do, buying name brand clothes, buying the coffee, and whatever else that you wanted to do. Let's say you make you take $1,000 a month out of that $2,500 of cash flow and you invest it into your future for, of course, 25 years at 10% interest. Let's hit calculate. How much does this person have? Well, of course, you have over $1.1 million, whether it's money that you invested in the stock market or wherever it is, where you can make 10% annually, which is realistic with the S&P 500. You have over $1.1 million. Now, of course, if you were crazy and you decided, well, out of that $2,500 that I recouped because I did accelerated banking, I paid everything off at an accelerated rate, I decided to take, $1,500 of that $2,500 and leave an extra $1,000 a month to do whatever you wanted to do. And you took $1,500 for 25 years, then, and of course, some people may be 30 years, some people may be 15 years. Each scenario is different. When you look at it, that person has $1.7 million. And of course, if you did it for 30 years, then it's definitely probably well over 2 million. Let's do. If someone invested, and if you're younger, you probably got 30 years to do this. If you're 75, maybe you don't want to invest for 30 years. But if you're maybe in your 40s, early 50s, maybe you would invest for 25, 30 years. And of course, that person has almost 3 million, $2.9 million. But once again, that's through showing people creatively how to use accelerated banking to pay off a mortgage and consumer debt at an accelerated rate. That person pays all of that off in 5.5 years and can go invest like crazy. So a lot of people, let me stop sharing. A lot of people are intimidated to learn and invest in their financial wealth and their financial health. But you can't be intimidated to learn. You can't be intimidated to grow. There are tools and there are mentors and there are things out there, information out there that we can improve our financial situation and maximize our ability to be great stewards over what we've been blessed with. Today, I wanted to talk to you all purposely about how to be creative with your finances. Find out, of course, last week we talked about the benefits of having cash flow every month. If you don't have that cash flow, today, when we talked about big money wasters, I wanted you to see how can we stop wasting that money, recoup it, put it back in our pockets, get our money back from where it was being wasted. Now let's get this cash flow. What do we do with this cash flow? If you have debt, first we want to get rid of that debt. We want to be debt-free, pay that stuff off, especially personal debt. Everyone has different philosophies. Now, if you have business debt and you have business things going on a business entity, then I understand that's a different dynamic. But your personal debt, we want to clear all of that up. So we get rid of the personal debt. Now we have tons of cash flow. When we have tons of cash flow, then we can build up our emergency fund. That way we're safe. Whether it's 3 to 6 months, I think 6 months is extremely extreme unless you have medical problems and unless you do contract work. And then so once we have that in place, and when you have healthy cash flow, it doesn't take long to build up an emergency fund because you've eliminated all of the debt and you've eliminated those things that are wasting your money. And so at that point, you can invest like crazy and be very creative with your investing to build your wealth, to continue to grow your wealth for your future, for